You're watching 13 News, Kansas News Leader.
Good evening, I'm Melissa Bruner.
And I'm Ralph Hipp. Welcome in. Here at 10, we have some new information tonight. This is regarding the man arrested on a DUI charge after he was found in his truck on a Topeka family's front yard.
Viewers had contacted 13 News when they recognized the suspect as the driver in a wreck 30 years ago that killed a family of 5. 13's Carrie Larson uncovers video from his 1986 trial and why the recent arrest has those who knew the family concerned.
In 1986, Daryl Goodnow, then 22 years old, entered a Jackson County courtroom telling his side of what happened when his vehicle crashed on Highway 75. He said a truck pulled out in front of him.
I thought maybe it would slow down and let me in. And I looked back straight ahead of me in the southbound lane to make sure no one was coming. And I accelerated. And I looked back over my shoulder, over my blind spot, to see if I could get back in.
Instead, Goodnow's vehicle crossed the center line.
And that's the last thing I remember.
30 years later, Marshall Lane says she will never forget.
And even though it's been a while, it's still hard.
Inside the vehicle were Lane's friends, Dale and Nancy Edwards, their 9-year-old son Daniel, 4-year-old daughter Angela, and 3-year-old daughter Katie Jo. All were killed.
It was a huge loss to not only their family, but our family too.
Lane said memories of the horrific accident came rushing back when she saw Goodnow's face this week on 13 News, arrested on charges of drunk driving after being found passed out behind the wheel in the yard of a Shawnee County home.
I was very angry.
Court testimony from the 1986 trial showed Goodnow had also been drinking before the fatal crash, but when tested an hour after the wreck, his blood alcohol level was 0.07, below the legal limit, which at that time was 0.1. Witnesses testified they never saw the vehicle Goodnow claimed pulled out in front of him. A jury found him guilty of involuntary manslaughter, but an appeals court later ruled he should have been charged with less severe aggravated vehicular homicide, and he was resentenced in Jackson County District Court to 5 to 25 years. Lane says she's hoping Goodnow will learn from his actions.
I don't want more people to lose their friends, friends who become family. I don't want to see that happen.
Goodnow was released from jail yesterday on his DUI charge. He will appear in court December 14th. A change in a local high school's dress code initially got a rise out of a few students' parents.
They too contacted 13 News. They're concerned the principal's explanation during a meeting was singling out young women. 13's Tori Mason with us here at 10. She talked with the principal to clear up some of the confusion.
Ralph, Melissa, a year ago, this dress I'm wearing now would pass Seaman High School's dress code. It stated, skirts must reach longer than the tip of your middle finger. They have done away with specific measuring, and now it's at the teacher's discretion whether it's appropriate or not. But when Seaman's principal Mike Monahan explained the changes at a parent meeting last night, it came off the wrong way for some. While the change does apply to both boys and girls, parents at the seminar tell 13 News they are concerned he singled out female students in his examples and referred to female students dressing in a distracting manner. The parents did not want to appear on camera, but told us it reinforces the idea that women are to blame when they're harassed. Monahan stressed that was not what he meant at all.
Are we teaching boys that they have no responsibility for their actions?
Well, I mean, that's not the intent of the policy at all. The policy change is designed to allow us to address it in a way that is not, offensive, but just, have a discussion about it and guide the student towards thinking more about how they should dress for work. I am really sorry for any misunderstanding.
You can read that change made to Seaman's High School's dress code on their new online handbook. I'll post a link to that on WIBW.com.
Tori, thanks. The Kansas Highway Patrol responded today to a court ruling on searches of out-of-state license tag vehicles. Tuesday, a 10th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled Kansas law enforcement officials cannot stop and search motorists simply for having a state license plate from states that have legalized marijuana. The court reinstated the lawsuit filed by Colorado motorist Peter Vasquez. He filed it after 2 KHP troopers stopped and searched his vehicle while driving through Kansas on his way to Maryland. The 10th Circuit Court found troopers violated Vasquez's Fourth Amendment right rights in searching his car. The troopers justified the search, saying Vasquez was a Colorado citizen driving on I-70, a known drug corridor. In a statement today, though, KHP officials said it does not conduct traffic stops based on a vehicle's state of registration, but rather on reasonable suspicion, which is normally the result of traffic violations or criminal activity.
A Topekan arrested in a drug and weapon search 2 years ago will be serving time in a federal prison. 43-year-old Faustino Soto was sentenced today to 35 years in federal prison on his drug trafficking charges. Prosecutors on the federal level say that Soto was a multi-pound supplier of meth to a trafficking organization which ran in Franklin, Anderson, and Douglas counties. Investigators served a search warrant November 2014 at Soto's residence. He was at 117 Southeast Rice Road, where they recovered meth, firearms, and more than $17,000 in cash. A federal judge has set a September 8th sentence date for this man, Alexander Blair, who admitted helping John T. Booker Jr. in his plot to bomb and set off a huge vehicle bomb at Fort Riley. Blair admits loaning John Booker $100 to get storage space for the explosives that Booker had planned to use for the failed and foiled plot, and he didn't tell law enforcers about it. He blames a genetic learning disorder for allowing others to take advantage of him.
The man who used a hunger strike in an attempt to get his children back from the state of Kansas has reached a deal on criminal charges against him in a separate city case. Raymond Schwab pleaded no contest this morning to loitering. 2 other counts of criminal trespass and criminal damage to property were dismissed. Schwab was not in court today. He signed a waiver to allow attorney Jennifer Chaffee to enter the plea on his behalf. He was fined $231. The charges stem from a May 2015 incident where Schwab reportedly entered the home of an acquaintance without permission, damaging a window in the process. Meanwhile, his wife, Amelia, did not show up for her municipal court trial last month, and the judge issued a warrant for her arrest. She's charged with misdemeanor battery on 2 emergency room nurses at Stormont Vale from April 2015. Raymond Schwab says he and Amelia have returned home to Colorado. They plan to retain Chaffee to resolve Amelia's case as well. Meantime, he says they also continue their federal lawsuit against state officials and DCF to get their children back.
Well, the University of Kansas is announcing cuts to several programs totaling $1.3 million, and it's an effort to deal with the $7 million cut in funding from the state of Kansas. Lawrence's Journal World reporting that KU Provost Neely Bendaputi announced a list of cuts on Wednesday. Programs to take significant budget hits include Kansas Public Radio and the Kansas Geological Survey. Bendaputi says the announced cuts actually make up less than half of what would be needed to be made at the Lawrence and Edwards campuses. The Edwards campus is in Overland Park, that is for this year. Meantime, officials at the University of Kansas Medical Center, that's in Kansas City, say they will face significant difficulties this year as they handle an additional $3.7 million of cuts in state funding for the medical school. Kansas State University will allow concealed firearms in all buildings under guidelines it's developing to comply with the state law. The Manhattan Mercury reports KSU and the work group there is planning a September 15th forum before submitting the guidelines to the state's Board of Regents for their approval. Beginning next year, the state's public universities have to allow concealed carry weapons on campus in buildings that don't have security measures, including metal detectors. The Kansas Board of Regents has directed universities to develop more detailed policies by the fall.
Pay raises are coming for more Shawnee County employees and for commissioners, too. Commissioners today approved a 1% raise for non-elected department heads, or an adjustment that ensures a salary 10% higher than the next person in their department. It is the latest round of raises since a compensation study found county workers making less than workers in comparable markets. Commissioners voted themselves about a $10,000 raise, bringing their annual salary to $52,000. Commissioners also saluted Shawnee County Sheriff's K-9 officer Diablo. The 8-year-old is hanging up the badge after 6 years on the force. That's 42 in dog years. Commissioners approved having Diablo spend retirement at the home of his handler, Deputy Matt Bowling. Commissioners also approved purchasing a new dual-purpose law enforcement K-9 for $9,500 to replace Diablo on the force. Topeka helped the National Park Service celebrate its 100th birthday today.
Happy birthday, National Park Service.
gotta sing the song, right? Quincy Elementary students led the crowd in singing Happy Birthday and Home on the Range. Leaders from the city and our area's own national parks also spoke before serving up birthday cake and cookies. Park Service reps are in town this week getting ideas for a new park at the Pappins Ferry Landing along the Oregon and California trails. They'll be unveiling initial designs and outline the next steps tomorrow morning at the Great Overland Station.
Indiana Governor and Vice Presidential nominee Mike Pence left the campaign trail. He was visiting the people who live in Kokomo, Indiana, slammed by those tornadoes yesterday. As many as 15 twisters touched down across the Hoosier State Wednesday, leaving behind trails of damaged cars, broken windows, whole neighborhoods in shreds. At least one of the tornadoes was an EF3, it was said today. It had winds of 165 miles an hour. Remarkably, in Indiana, nobody was killed. We've got nothing of the size of that, but probably several pockets of storm activity that Jeremy Goodwin wants to talk about tonight.
He's keeping an eye on things. Jeremy, you've been keeping tabs on a pretty busy week weather-wise.
Hi, Ralph, Melissa. We are looking at rain moving in late tonight, probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning for a lot of folks hearing thunder and lightning outside. Not impossible to see hail the size of quarters of winds to 60 miles per hour, some of the stronger storms, but probably not worse than that. So you can bring the car into the garage. That's a good idea, but I don't expect to see anything terribly wild other than folks being waken up in the middle of the night with some lightning. Here's what we have outside now. View from the Parish Hotel's Ramada Hotel and Convention Center camera atop the Jayhawk Tower in downtown Topeka on this warm and humid night across northeast Kansas, and temperatures have remained fairly warm throughout the evening hours, falling off into the upper 60s and some lower 70s. Go ahead and check out the next view from Quinton Heights Hill, our Capitol Federal Sky Cam there, and skies remain partly cloudy overhead, but no rain falling yet. Ragweed is in the low category this evening. Chinnapod nettle both considered low as well after seeing several days in the high category. A lot of rain in the area will certainly bring those things down, and likely to see them low again tomorrow. The middle of next week is the next time we start to see a widespread dry trend across the area, but several storm chance expected through tomorrow and into the upcoming weekend as well. We saw 1.5 inches of rain in Topeka over the last 48 hours. More rain tonight, could be 1 or 2 inches for many folks. Hiawatha seen almost 3 inches over the last couple of days. Manhattan more than 1 inch. And we do have a flash flood watch for the entire area shaded in green here over to the Kansas City area, Lawrence in this Topeka, Emporia, Strong City, Osage City in this as well. Here are the temperatures. Warmer the farther south you go. It is still very humid, 73 in Emporia. Capitol Federal Live Storm Tracker now showing dry conditions across northeast Kansas so far. We're watching storms in Oklahoma already that are climbing our direction. Now by 3 or 4 a.m., fairly widespread storms in the area. Those bright oranges indicate where thunderstorms will be in place. 8 a.m. supercast showing the line of storms from Hiawatha to Concordia. Some of this is going to be heavy rain and certainly going to make for a soggy bus stop for many of the kids tomorrow morning. Make sure they have the umbrella or a raincoat tomorrow morning at the bus stop. They're going to be out there, 60s for the temperature at 7:30 a.m. And if you do have to be on the roads tomorrow, the People's Insurance Group Road Risk Index in the morning, expecting to see a soggy commute. Yellow car day, so certainly be extra careful with that chance of storms. As the day progresses, we'll see more storms in the area through the afternoon and evening. Some of these heavy rain showers on Friday evening. If you have Friday night plans, keep that in mind. And then even into Saturday morning, this is 8 a.m. Saturday, still seeing scattered storms in the area, and that could last into Sunday. This frontal boundary that's moving through the area just looks like it's going to stick around for several days with really no chance for seeing any sort of break out of this for quite a while. 67 degrees overnight, scattered rain, 80 degrees tomorrow. And here's the 8-day forecast with a chance of storm Saturday and Sunday. Just got a severe storm warning for southeast Kansas. So it's part of the storms that are starting to crawl our direction, not for us yet, but 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it could get loud around here. So even 5 a.m., be ready for that.
Warn the pets and the children that there might be some bumps in the night.
Absolutely.
And we know that Doug Myers will already be here when all that's happening, so we'll let you know
Yes,
about it. All
yes,
right.
he will.
Thanks.
Well, they are Marlins. We don't want them to have a Miami Mantis. We want the Royals to get that win on the road in Miami. That story for you. And why having a short memory might be a good thing when it comes to how the season ended for the Junction City Blue Jays. We've got their profile on KPZ later in sports.
But first, new guidelines aimed at getting you back on your feet after a stroke. Why heading straight home may not be the best option. Next.
You're watching 13 News at 10 with Melissa Bruner and Ralph Hipp. 13 News, Kansas News Leader. You're watching 13 News, Kansas News Leader.
Quick medical intervention can save your life after a stroke, but for the first time, the American Stroke and American Heart Association have guidelines to save your quality of life. A key component is having patients spend time at inpatient rehabilitation. Already a heart attack survivor, Diana Hauser had another scare a few weeks ago.
I just knew I needed help.
Diana suffered a mild stroke, and she's worked hard to get back on her feet.
I couldn't walk very well. I couldn't speak very well. We started kind of from the beginning over. It seemed like to me.
The journey to get home is taking Diana from the ER to Kansas Rehabilitation Hospital.
And keep your weight forward too.
For inpatient therapy. The American Heart and American Stroke Association's first ever guidelines for adult stroke rehab call for 24/7 intense multidisciplinary treatment.
What the rehabilitation phase focuses on, again, is regaining that quality of life, addressing the specific impairments that they may have.
That means speech, occupational, and physical therapies. Since it's inpatient, Diana meets with members of her team several times a day rather than just a few visits a week.
It's just a wide variety, and so with breaking it up into the different sessions throughout the day, we can focus on one task at a time versus trying to fit it all in.
It provides us with a lot of opportunities to see different impairments with the patient that may not otherwise be detected.
Diana's made great strides and is almost ready for the next big step, going home to enjoy her husband and their family.
I'm just so grateful for what I've got and what I've regained. They helped me put it all together.
The new guidelines also recommend formal education for patients and families on preventing falls once they're home. I posted a link to those new guidelines, more details on WIBW.com. Ralph, Diana is very sweet and great to see how far she's come. She's so excited to be going home.
Absolutely, very excited about it. So several times a day, huh?
Because they're inpatient, they can be continuously working instead of just those set appointments 2 or 3 times a week.
Sounds like a great idea, working for her. Coming up, onto the Junction City Blue Jays using their lone loss from last season as motivation for the 16 season.
You'll hear from them coming up, and the Kansas City Royals in Miami. We'll take a walk down memory lane next in 13 Sports.
Sports with Chris Lilly.
Hello everyone. During the Kansas City Royals World Series run last season, Marlins man decided to not only sit in his signature spot behind home plate at Kauffman Stadium, but he also rooted for the Royals. So in the spirit of Throwback Thursday and the Royals in Miami, here's Marlins man joining our very own Jonathan Deutsch last October.
Just showed up with me up on top of this rock here. We got Marlins man. We're hoping Johnny Cueto can return to form. Do you think he can do it?
I would love that. I was here for his first start. I loved it. I actually videoed when they threw the bucket of water on him. I hope he wins tonight and they throw another bucket of water on him. And I want to say, go Royals!
In case you're wondering, that's a crown. Marlins man in attendance after being sick for the last couple weeks. It was a no-show at games, but he made the trip and asked him who he was cheering for. Well, KC, of course. Draw Dyson. He would like this, tracking it to the wall back. And at the last second, he jumps and robs Christian Yelich of a home run. We'll have to see that again. What a catch. Dyson channeling his inner Ken Griffey Jr. That's what speed do. He covered 98 feet for that catch. In the top of the third with 2 on, Salvador Perez hits a screamer. Just fair, and Chester Cuthbert scores to make it 1-0 in the third inning. And Alcides Escobar has only 2 home runs on the season. Well, make it 3. Esky clobbers the ball to center field. And the Royals, they take the 3-0 lead. Esky also added an RBI double. The Kansas City Royals win 5-2 and take the series from the Marlins. That's 6 straight series wins for the Royals. Kansas City sits 4 games back in the wild card, and they're only 2 games back from the Detroit Tigers. And the Royals now head to Boston for a series with the Red Sox. And as the Junction City Blue Jays prepare for the 2016 season, the end of 2015 sticks with them. 13's Jonathan Deutsch found out how remembering their playoff loss can be a good thing.
The Junction City Blue Jays were left with a sour taste in their mouth after a 46-27 loss to Derby in last year's playoffs.
It's in the back of your mind. I mean, you can't forget about it, so it's definitely motivation.
Coming off the Derby loss, I feel that as a team we need to work better, get people more involved, have them put forth more effort than what we did last year.
The Jays, on average, outscored their opponents 46 to 11.5, leading them to a 10-1 record.
There's always room for improvement, so last year we didn't let people score more than 12. This year we could make it 0.
You know, this year's a whole new year, and you know, with our kids, we've just been focusing on getting a little bit better every day, make sure we're executing our offense and defense, special teams as we're capable of executing them.
The offense should flourish once again. Ryan Hennington, a 1,000-yard passer last season, returns at quarterback.
Well, it's huge having your quarterback coming back as a starter.
Really not worried about the statistics, just worried about winning. Just trying to do everything I can to help this team win and progress deeper in the playoffs than last year.
So how much does last year's success factor into this upcoming season?
Last year doesn't mean a lot for us right now. It does give us a little bit of confidence in that, you know, these kids are on that team. These kids are big contributors of that team.
In Junction City, Jonathan Deutsch, 13 Sports.
Thanks for that, Jonathan. And that's it for sports. Ralph and Melissa, back to you.
Jonathan and Chris, thanks a bunch. And our 8-day forecast, Melissa, does include the forecast, an early look at what the weather will be like for the opening night of the high school games.
It is coming up on September, and Jeremy Goodwin has another look at when you might hear some storms overnight next.
This is your 13 weather forecast.
Watching storms across southeast Kansas and Oklahoma that are crawling our direction and should arrive well after midnight. Flash flood watch for much of the area with storms moving in 2, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. This will be loud with lightning, thunder, much of the wee hours of the morning. Some of the rain could be very heavy, 1 inch or 2 inches of rain with some of the stronger storms. 67 tonight, storms likely. Late, very, very late. We're talking 3, 4 in the morning. Could be very loud. 80 tomorrow for the high, scattered storms, and we'll see rain chances this weekend as well. Our next chance of seeing dry weather for several days won't be until the middle of next week.
There you go. The Boys and Girls Club of Topeka and their partnership with Azura Credit Union cut the ribbon to the new tech center at the club on Adams. Azura provided the manpower and the money for the iPads and computers and the smart board for the center and for the kids. The Boys and Girls Club will also start financial literacy and wellness classes through their other partnership they have with Junior Achievement. Leaders want to see the kids succeed in school and in life.
You can hear more about that on WIBW.com.
Yes.
Also, K-State students looking for a way to make some extra cash had the chance to meet potential employers. K-State's Career Center held a part-time opportunities fair at the Student Union. About 40 on and off-campus employers were there to share information about some part-time work they might want to be interested in. They host 7 of these fairs each year. It not only helps students find jobs and achieve goals, it also can help them get to know the Manhattan area. If they are new to the area, they get a look at what's all available.
Very good. Hey, thanks for joining us, and that's 13 News at 10 tonight. Get into the afternoon with us. We'll be back at 4:30 and 5 tomorrow afternoon.
Stay tuned for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Get the latest news, weather, and sports at WIBW.com or follow WIBW on Twitter, Facebook, and our mobile app. Thank you for making 13 News the most watched evening news show.